Oh, you hit record and everything.
I know. I got the
God,
note
that's
right
so
in front of me.
impressive.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Ted Prodromo. This is Matt Gillogly. This is day 3 of our How to Sell Without Selling series. A lot of you are asking, why are we doing this? And I know a lot of people in my little community, they're really good at social media and getting people engaged, but they're not feel comfortable selling. They really don't like to sell. They don't like to ask for money. They don't sell for enough. I know a lot of people, they could charge 10 times what they're charging. So we're just going to help people out here, and just a way to give back to everybody.
Yep.
And one thing that I know is, I can type it in the chat either on Facebook, thanks to all the Facebook people over there, and in the chat, have you ever purchased a sales course? Because I was just at Traffic and Conversion Summit, which is like the Super Bowl for marketing. Like everybody that, all those ads that pop up in front of you all over the internet, that's us. So we have like the best of the best people there. But one of all the big stars are like John Asseroff from The Secret. I don't know if you know him, but he does a lot of work with your mind and your mindset and really having a healthier brain. And he is generating over 100,000 leads a year on Facebook right now.
Is it a year or a month?
I know there's a lot of leads.
Yeah.
And he's got an 8-figure business. And John was at all 3 days of this event, and he was taking notes in sessions. Like all these other big celebrities that were there, they're just kind of walking around to be seen. He was in there learning the latest marketing tactics. So successful people are always learning. Even if you've taken a sales course, you got to keep your skills sharp.
Guess what I did yesterday? I bought an online program, and it's about basic fundamental marketing stuff. And before I was on the phone, guess what I was doing? I was going through their checklists and their how-tos and everything. I mean, this is stuff that I teach, right? But you just always go back to the fundamentals. I always go back to the fundamentals. And I never take it for granted that I've got to master, because you never master the fundamentals. I'm in my office here, in that bookcase right over there, that's just one of many in my townhome. There's tons of books on selling, and I'm always reading. I think I just bought like 3 books on selling over the last, 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Amazon knows where I live, baby. They make a delivery just about every day. So we've been able to avoid the Amazon delivery man, though, during these live sessions. So that's pretty good, Ted.
Yeah. I had a little trouble getting this Facebook. Oh, here, okay. Here we go, finally. Facebook took a little long to get there, to get connected, but we're still
there. We go. Now. I see it live on Facebook. There we go.
So as we're talking about Facebook, we can go back, just kind of go off track here a little bit, but our friend Perry Marshall years ago said, don't rely on one traffic source for your business. He was doing AdWords, and he realized, I need some other channels of traffic just in case something happens to AdWords. And there was huge changes to AdWords, huge changes to SEO for Google. Don't rely on one traffic source. Oh, there we go. He was doing AdWords, and he realized, I need some other. Got too many windows popping up. I got like 12 conversations.
I feel like Lou Gehrig's retirement today.
There we go.
Luckiest.
Hold on. Sorry about that. I had like 20 messages pop up on Facebook. I'm trying to mute this.
Yeah.
These marketers.
We'll grab something.
Hold on. Sorry about this.
Hey, that's why it's live.
There we go.
Some of the best parts of Saturday Night Live is when they screw up live, right?
Yes, exactly. So, okay, you want to recap what we've done days 1 and day 2?
You bet. So the first day, and if you haven't gone through these, I recommend that you do go back and listen to these. So the first thing we did on our first training is, we went over values. Basically, who do you want as a client? We like to call it the business growth strategies of Starbucks any entrepreneur can use. Now, I talked about this values pyramid, and I have it right back here on my wall. And Ted, what we're doing is for those folks that share this or like this, they are getting the values pyramid. Plus this morning I shot an extended video of right about 12 minutes explaining the values pyramid. How do you go about building one yourself? Now, this is for me personally, and it also doubles for my company. You generally want to have 2 different ones, although there will be a lot of bleeding over of that. But we talked about how these growth strategies of Starbucks, any entrepreneur can use, and I do recommend that you go back and listen to it and dive into that. And then the second thing we talked about is how do we break down the barriers? Isn't that our second session yesterday? And Ted and I like to call it nobody negotiates with the doctor. Essentially, if you need quadruple bypass, you don't negotiate price, and you don't sit there and go to the doctor and go, well, can I get just one bypass done? It doesn't work that way at all. These are very important concepts. And again, these are things that I've learned over 25 years of selling. I am not your traditional sales guy. I've been through the Tommy Hopkins courses, and that's fine. And I've been through the neuro-linguistic programming, and that's fine. But I found what works for me. Okay. I'm not a high pressure kind of guy. I'm a take it or leave it kind of guy. And I've really taught myself how to sell within my values. Okay. So my selling process really relates back to my values. Okay. And you'll notice that my clients look a lot like me, not 5'7" with dark hair and a little bit of gray. Because we could see that Ted doesn't have as much, his hair is not as good as mine. So, I'm just kidding. Ted's got 10 years of wisdom on me. So anyway, he's a much better skier because I can't ski at all. So anyway, those are the first two things that we talked about. So now today what we're going to talk about is how do you sell without selling? Now, this is my basic concept on this is I think of this, I want you to think of the Heisman Trophy, right? So I'm going to back up a second, make sure I don't trip over the chocolate lab. So if you think of the Heisman Trophy, you all know what the Heisman Trophy is. It's a guy with a football, and he's got it like this, and he's got the football here, and he's given a stiff arm like that, okay? So he's given a stiff arm to his competition. This is your product right here. These are your prospects. Now, let me explain, okay? You're like, wait a second, Matt, I've got a prospect, and I'm going to give him the stiff arm, and I'm going to hold my secret away from him, and the answer is yes, you are. The reason why is human beings want what they can't have. Don't believe me? Look at Cabbage Patch dolls, okay? You have to learn how to sell without selling. Your product, your service is the football over here, and you're giving your prospect the stiff arm like that, okay? How you do that is it has to start with your values, okay? You're going to attract and get people who align with who you are, okay? The second thing is that you are then going to create yourself as an authority. You never argue with the doctor. And we're going to, we talked about that yesterday. Even if you don't think of yourself as an authority, I promise you're an authority to somebody somewhere at some time. If you've been on this earth for at least 20 years, you're an authority to somebody somewhere at some time, okay? So how we use this in the clinics, and to give you a little bit of background, I used to own erectile dysfunction clinics. I had them for about 5 years. We started with 0, and with 18 months, we had 3. Yes, I gave men erections for a living. But I want you to think about this, okay? Let's go back to this picture of the Heisman, okay? Imagine at the clinic, you're a man who's not had an erection for 2 years. You've tried pills, potions, pumps, and porn. Nothing works. You know that if you can't get an erection, you're going to lose your girlfriend or your spouse, okay? I have the solution, right? I've got the solution right here. I can give you the erection. The football is I can give you the erection. And I'm going to make it a little bit of a challenge for you to come and see me. I'm going to make it a little bit mysterious. And the premise is that what if I can give you an erection? Now, I want you to really just think about this. Guys get their sense of worth 3 ways: the love we make, the money we make, and our sports teams. And if we're not interested in any of those, then we probably want a sandwich, okay? If you're listening to this as a female, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. If you're listening to this as a guy, you're shaking your head and you're laughing right now, right? Ted's heard me say this a bunch of times, so he doesn't laugh, okay? He's heard me say this a bazillion times, okay? You are selling the erection to the guy who can't get the erection. That is your product or service. They have so much pain. If a guy can't get an erection, he has so much pain. If we think about sex 24/7, right? I mean, this is, it's always on in the back of our mind, right? Now, please don't get lost in the fact that I'm talking about sex, but it really is our base. And this is how you have to think about your client base, how you sell without selling. Because when we had a client that would come in, a prospect or patient that would come in, we would actually give them a medication and they would get an erection in the office. Well, after they have the erection in the office and they haven't been able to have one for 2 years, what are they going to do? Of course they're going to buy. I mean, why wouldn't you? So you have to set your processes up that they get to taste what your product and service is like at no risk. They get to feel what it's like to have an erection for the first time in 2 years. They get to feel what it's like to be able to have a sniff of profitability or patients flowing in, but you still make it hard for them to do something with you, okay? And all of this is done by how you structure the script, how you structure the hurdles, and these are some of the things that we will talk deeper in. But I mean, that is the basic premise of how you sell without selling. Because I used to tell this to my patient counselors. I go, look, if you got a guy in front of you who hasn't had an erection in 2 years, and now he has an erection, and he doesn't at least try to buy, what the heck are you telling him? Because like, this is their base. This is what guys want. I mean, if they don't, you'll occasionally get the guy going, well, it's not that important to me. And you're like, well, see ya. You know, I'm not going to chase you. Okay. Don't ever chase people, but you've got to make it so that they get to sample what it's like to have a result with you. All right. I'll just pause there. Do we have any questions so far, Tad? Or is that anything I need to clarify on that? I can get rolling on that. So
yeah, if you have questions, put them in the chat or on Facebook. And you can apply this anywhere, like Doreen Hamilton's on the call. She helps people overcome their fear of speaking. Mm-hmm. And she has a very unique approach to doing it. And it's just, she does a lot of videos. She's really reaching out to a lot of people. And I see a lot of other people. You can apply this to anything you do. You don't want to give away everything up front. You want to tease them, if you say so.
You want to give them a test dose, right? You want to give them a test dose that's going to help them feel better, right? And that's what we did in the clinics. So they got a test dose. They got to feel what it was like to be erect for the first time in years, okay? You need to think of it the same way. What is it that you can give them that is going to give them a taste, a sample of what life is going to be like if they work with you?
Right. Okay.
Now, I mean, look, we see Steve Peck. Okay, what are some other ideas of a test dose? Excellent question, Steve. So and Steve, if you don't mind me, just go ahead and put in the chat box, tell us what you do, okay? And I'll delay. It's called what we call in the industry, the stretch.
Yeah.
But I'll give you an example of what I do. So what I do is I work with doctors, right? And I have a system to what's called the practice profit system. And it's the system of how we grow the practice profit. And I work with direct pay practices. I don't work with any practices that take insurance. I only work with the practices that are direct pay. So concierge, right? If you want the service, you pay for it. So you help businesses find and convert prospects into clients. Okay, you and 48 million other people. What niche, Steve? Okay, who's the who? Please don't say everybody, because then, we're going to have a long conversation. But
Steve does a lot of what I do. He knows how to engage on LinkedIn and drive people to the website.
Yeah, so we want to get, obviously we want to get to use that for people like, that are in the auto industry or something like that. But always better to have like a specific beachhead that you're going after, a more specific avatar. So, what you have to do is you've got to give them something, give something away that if they go and they implement it will work. I'll give you an example of this. Maybe I have the mail piece. Hang on one second, Ted. Maybe I have it, maybe I don't. Nope, I don't. I do not. Sorry, folks. I just wanted to see if I had it readily available. So what I did is I did a mail piece to other erectile dysfunction clinics. And these other erectile dysfunction clinics, one of the ways that we generated a lot of leads, that we would generate like $50,000 to $60,000 a month in revenue, was, believe it or not, a newspaper ad. And what I did was I actually took the ad and I printed it out on newsprint and I mailed it out to all the other, there's about 60 other ED clinics in the country. And I put a letter in there, a 2-page letter, and I basically said, take this ad, steal it, run it exactly as you see it. Here's how you buy it. You want to be on the lower right-hand corner of page 3. Go ahead and run this ad. I'll even proof the ad for you. I'll even help you do the media buy, so that you don't get, taken advantage of. And I'll charge you nothing. I'll charge you absolutely nothing. Okay. And what I did was I gave them something, and I did this via mail. I know that this is very hard to understand. I think it's probably even harder to understand that we could actually drive patients via newspaper. We actually would generate 6 figures a month per clinic via newspaper. Think about it. Who reads a newspaper? Old guys. Who has ED? Old guys. Okay. So we actually would give that to them and tell them, go run it. I'm going to give you something that's going to make you 55 grand. Now, if they go and they do that, or they run that ad exactly, what do you think is going to happen? Who are they going to call next? Okay.
Yep.
More than happy to give something away. And you know, you have to, I think you got to think of it differently than just giving something away. Like, you know, a cheat sheet's always good. I think a cheat sheet's a great tripwire or a book or something like that. But give them something that is going to tell them exactly how to get results. Okay. Understand, very few people are going to go and actually do it, but the ones that do are going to meet your values.
Yeah. So it's like on my YouTube channel, I have like literally bits and pieces of all my courses are there in separate videos if you want to sit there and watch over 300 videos.
Right. And you're not necessarily in the business of selling the program. You want to work one-on-one. You want to consult with people, right? I mean, that's
a little bit of both. It's nice to have that passive income coming in.
Yeah. See, for me, I'm purely focused on building the agency, and an agency client is worth, you know, 150 grand a year to me. How many of those do I need at this point?
Right.
I mean, you know, we just landed one yesterday, and you know, they'll start out small. They'll be about $3,000 a month, and in about 6 months, they'll be about 12 grand a month. I mean, you know, it'll work. And I gave them away. I gave them something to go use and test. They came back 4 weeks later and went, "Wow, it really did work." So how do we work with you? So you got to think of it that way.
You have to be clear on who you're looking for and what you're offering. What's the solution for them?
Yep. Give them an erection if they haven't had one for a while. There you go. There's a nice food for thought early in the morning at 11:17 East Coast time.
Or if it's IT managed service provider who Steve's looking for, you have to know what their biggest problems are and how you can solve those problems.
Yeah. Think again, going back to this, think about this. What is the thing that is so important to them? They will crawl across broken glass naked in order to get. Okay. As Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, says, he only invests in companies that pander to the 7 deadly sins. So you want to try and hit the 7, you know, I don't know what the 7 deadly sins, how that would relate to IT managed services, but again, greed is always a good one.
Yeah.
Greed, vanity, I forget what the others are, but you know.
So Steve, if you can type in like, what's their biggest problem they have right now, other than they need more clients?
Yeah.
Dig deeper than that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gotta be, because everybody wants more, you know, everybody wants more clients. And while he's typing that in, like in the medical practice side of things, I have a competitor out there and he says, I'm going to get you 10 new patients. You know, what would it mean to you have 10 brand new patients every single month, every single week? And I actually sell against that. I go, you don't want 10 new leads. What you want is you want more profitability. What if I could find you an extra $100,000 in profit in the next 90 days?
Right.
Well, that's a whole different conversation, right? Because here's the reality. Most people have no clue. Once they acquire the customer, they don't know what to do with them. They can't convert them. And, you know, it's really, the conversion is where the rubber meets the road. I mean, you know, that's the, I once heard this about 20 years ago, you know, the fastest way to kill a crappy company is generate a lot of leads for them, because they won't be able to liquidate them, right? So,
and if they do get new clients, they're not prepared to service those clients properly.
Yep. Okay, so more consistent profits, Steve. Okay, so we're getting close. Like, so what is, let me pull this up. I'm going to ask a question and I want to make sure I ask it right. So bear with me here 1 second. I don't want that. All right, hang on.
So I have a friend, actually, he was a client, now he's a friend. He does cybersecurity. And he runs ads. He's one of the best marketing people I've ever seen. And he runs ads and he just cannot get people to respond to, your data is at risk. People are trying to hack into your databases. People are hacking into your computers. You need to protect yourself. And they just won't respond until they've been hacked. And then they call him in to solve the problem.
Well, and so it's the same reason why you ever wondered why, like sometimes all of a sudden you'll get a lot of messages from like security companies, like knocking on your door or sending you, it's because there's been a break-in recently in your neighborhood.
Yep.
Okay. The best time to sell life insurance is when your 40-year-old neighbor drops dead of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really hard to sell preventative. Remember that. It's really hard to sell preventative. In fact, it's almost impossible, right? Preventative doesn't dial into the 7 deadly sins. So, more consistent profits. I mean, okay, what is that going to get them? What are the dreams and desires that's going to get them? More consistent profits is going to give them what? If they don't get more consistent profits, what are their fears? What are the implications? What's their pain and frustrations about getting more consistent profits? Okay, so you got to dig deeper in that, Steve.
They're worried about not making payroll, or they're worried not being able to bring home money to pay the mortgage, and you have to tell your wife, I can't pay the mortgage this month.
Yeah, great. Here's a headline. Did everybody get paid except for you? Question mark. And then there's the picture, and we've all done it, right? We've all had this happen. Good news, honey, we got a paycheck. Bad news is you can't cash it till next Wednesday.
Right.
That's if MasterCard releases the funds.
Right.
So you gotta be really clear on these pains. I don't think people spend enough time really digging deep in the pains and the frustrations. I don't think they dig deep into the fears and the implications of what happens if this doesn't happen. Okay. Drive the whole payroll thing. Did you have to cancel your family vacation again this year? Like Ted said, stay away from selling preventative. The best time, and I think I know who that is. He's in Raleigh, our mutual friend up there. Yep. The best time to sell, and I've talked to him as well. The best time to sell cybersecurity is right after they've been hacked. And guess what? You can probably charge 10 times as much.
Yeah.
I mean,
So really sell what they're going to buy, because he's been banging his head against the wall for years. Like, you're going to get hacked. It's a matter of time. They are trying to break into your database.
We used to say this in the clinics, and we would get guys that would be like, nah, I'm not that interested. Really? Okay. So let me ask you something. What was it that finally happened that caused you to call and come in? Because you've been hearing the commercials on TV and radio and print. You've been hearing them for 6 months. I mean, we spent $60,000 a month on advertising. I mean, we were on TV and radio all over the place. And, they go, well, my wife and I were having sex, and I just really wasn't able to get erect enough to really get a really good erection. And, though she says that it's really not that big of a deal, or that's okay. We can try again this weekend. That was a big phrase. The other big phrase was, oh, well, honey, I don't love you because of that. There's other things we can do. To which we would always cry BS, right? And my female patient counselors would go in and they would talk to the guys and they'd be like, look, let me explain something to you. She's lying, okay? She wants to have sex with you. She wants you to be firm enough to be able to penetrate. She wants to have a great time with you, and she doesn't want to try again this weekend. She wants it now, okay? Now, that's a little graphic. I understand that, but you've got to get, we got to quit being so worried about actually telling the truth, right? This is what goes on. And so you got to think about it like that in the context of your clients, right? You can't, pussyfoot around what is really going on, what their pain and frustrations are. You got to really hit it. I mean, remember one time I had this guy sitting in front of me, he goes, it's not that important. She's not, if she has an affair or whatever. I go, really? You want another man sleeping with your wife? You want her to be satisfied by another man? You want to run the risk of getting divorced? Do you know how much a divorce costs? And he looked at me and I go, I can promise you it's a lot cheaper than what I'm going to charge you. Okay. And he went, you're right. And I use the example because I've been through a divorce. I mean, mine was not expensive, but I have friends of mine that have been through. And this guy was, he was us. He was a man of decent means. I mean, he wasn't some schlub. I go, really? You really want your wife with another? I mean, really? You're 55 years old. You're going to live till 90. You want to spend the rest of what's going to happen if you do get divorced and meet somebody? You still aren't going to be able to, it's not all of a sudden she's going to magically leave and the erection fairies are going to come back into town and poof, you're going to work. I mean, that's not how this works. So.
Hey, Steve, I have an idea for you. You could target people that are getting all their business from Facebook right now. Because everybody's saying, Facebook ads are skyrocketing in price. They've kind of hit the wall there. And now with all this, the data breach thing, people are starting to leave Facebook in droves. Their user time is dropping significantly. So if there's a lot of businesses that get all their business from Facebook ads. So you can target those people and say, hey, you need to diversify. You need to be running ads on Google, on Twitter, on wherever.
Yeah, you know, and there was the Google slap. Remember the Google slap, Ted?
Yeah.
When that happened? Everybody's business all of a sudden just got turned upside down one day. Yeah, use Facebook to target them, you bet. And, you know, historically, the Facebook slap is coming because the Google slap came. And
it's already happening. Yeah, it's happened a few times.
Happened. Yeah, I mean, we're watching it happen. And it happens at every, you know, they figured out a way to become more and more profitable. They got to whatever the math says. But yeah, I mean,
this is going to take time for them to recover from this. If they recover, who knows what's going to happen to Facebook? I don't.
There's your headline, by the way. But a friend of mine lost 60% of his revenue in 1 week. And you could be next.
Right. There you go.
So.
There you go. Okay. Any other questions? I think that's it. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Tomorrow we'll be back with part 2 of how to sell without selling.
See everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.